When my mother died, I thought grief would sound like thunder. I expected it to come in waves of sobbing, breaking glass, screaming into pillows until my voice gave out. But grief, it turns out, is quieter than that. It is the silence of a house that no longer breathes, the sound of a phone that doesn't ring, the emptiness of a chair that remains pulled back from the table, waiting for a body that will never sit there again. The first week after her funeral, I floated through rooms like a guest in my own life. Neighbors dropped off casseroles wrapped in foil, relatives whispered in the hallway, friends sent texts that blurred together. Asterisk, I'm so sorry. Thinking of you. Asterisk, I thanked them all, smiled politely, and went to bed at 7 like a child. Sleep didn't come, but it was easier to lie still in the dark than to face the house awake. Her slippers were still by the bed. Her glasses still sat folded on the nightstand. A crossword puzzle lay unfinished, pinned balanced diagonally across the page as if she had just stepped away for tea. I couldn't touch any of it. Touching felt like erasing her fingerprints, like proving she was truly gone. So I avoided her room. I avoided closets and drawers. I lived only in the kitchen, the bathroom, the couch, like the rest of the house had become radioactive. But by the second week, avoidance turned into responsibility. Life demands order even from the grieving. Bills had to be paid, the house cleaned, belongings sorted. I was the only one left to do it. Dad had been gone for years. There was no one else. Just me, and the house, and the silence. It was Sunday afternoon when I finally opened her wardrobe. The sun slanted low through the blinds, dust catching the light in drifting gold motes. The air smelled faintly of lavender, the same soap she had used since I was a child. It was the smell of Sunday baths, of folded sheets, of the hug she gave me before every exam. Her dresses hung in perfect rows, skirts organized by color. My mother had been disciplined, almost rigid. She ironed even her pajamas, and she always said a tidy closet meant a tidy mind. I touched the edge of one blouse, soft cotton against my fingers, and for a moment I could almost hear her voice reminding me not to wrinkle it. The thought made my chest ache. Then I saw it. On the top shelf, behind a stack of neatly folded quilts, something didn't fit her order. A plain cardboard box, edges frayed, lid askew, like it had been shoved there in haste. My mother never shoved anything anywhere. My stomach tightened. I dragged a chair over and reached up, fingers brushing dust, tugging the box free. It was heavier than it looked. I carried it carefully to the bed and set it in front of me. For a long moment, I just stared at it, my pulse thudding in my ears. This wasn't a shoebox of photos or a bag of scarves. This was something else, something hidden. Finally, I lifted the lid. Letters, dozens of them, bundled with faded ribbon, stacked in uneven piles. Envelopes yellowed with age, some torn, some sealed, some smudged with ink. My breath caught. My mother wasn't sentimental. She never kept cards, never saved ticket stubs or pressed flowers. Why would she hide letters? I reached for the top bundle. The ribbon was fragile, nearly crumbling as I untied it. On the first envelope, in neat blue ink, was written, 1989, the year before I was born. My hands shook as I unfolded the first letter. The paper was thin, fragile as onion skin, but the ink was bold. The handwriting wasn't hers. It was slanted, hurried, masculine. Dearest M, it began. Not Margaret, my mother's name. Just an initial. The writer spoke of meetings in the dark, of secrecy, of not being able to be seen together. He wrote of love, fierce, desperate, forbidden, and then a line that made my chest seize. If anyone finds out, it will ruin everything. We must be careful, for the child's sake. I froze. For the child's sake. Was he talking about me? I shoved the letter back into the envelope, my hands trembling so badly the paper nearly tore. My eyes darted to the doorway, half expecting to see my mother there, scolding me for prying. But the house was still. Of course it was. She was gone. And yet it felt like she was watching me anyway. I pulled another letter, and another. Words blurred as I skimmed. Asterisk, she suspects. Asterisk, asterisk, we can't keep this forever. Asterisk, asterisk, promise me you'll protect her. Asterisk. Some were tender, almost romantic. Others were frantic, edged with fear. Together they painted a picture I didn't recognize. A secret relationship. A man who was terrified of being discovered. And my mother, complicit. My throat closed. Protect who? From what? From whom? I leaned back on the bed, clutching the bedspread like it could anchor me. The letters spread out before me like spilled water, seeping into the cracks of everything I thought I knew. For the first time since the funeral, I felt her presence in the room. But it wasn't comforting. It was heavy, watchful, as if she had left these letters not just hidden from the world, but hidden from me. Memories flashed, jagged and sharp. Nights when I was a child and she would tuck me in, her face pale, eyes red, as though she had been crying. Times she grew distant whenever I asked about Dad's past, answering only with, "Some stories aren't meant to be told." I had thought it was grief. Now I wondered if it was something else. I picked up the first letter again, read the words twice, 3 times, as if repetition would make them make sense. But they didn't. They only deepened the hole in my chest. I whispered into the empty room, "Mom, what did you do?" I didn't sleep that night. The letters spread across my bed like a crime scene, their paper breathing secrets into the air. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that one sentence, asterisk for the child's sake. Asterisk, the words looped in my head, refusing to settle. If he meant me, then what had my mother been protecting me from all these years? By morning, the air in the house felt heavier. The kettle whistled, but I forgot to pour the tea. My hands itched until I pulled the box close again. Curiosity is cruel. It doesn't care about timing. It eats until there's nothing left. I untied another bundle, 1991 this time. My first year of life. The ink on these letters was shakier, as if the writer's hand trembled with fear or urgency. "Dearest M," one began. "Every time I see him holding her, I wonder if he knows. I wonder if he suspects that blood doesn't lie. He has your eyes, but will she grow to have mine?" My stomach twisted. He, the man my mother married. My father. The man whose photograph still sat on the mantel in the living room, smiling stiffly in a suit. He had died when I was 7, a car accident on a rainy night. Mom rarely spoke of him afterward, and I never pressed. But here was this voice, this other man, suggesting a different truth, that the man I'd called father might not have been my father at all. I pressed my palm over my mouth, while rising. The words blurred, but I kept reading. Another letter. "She cries often. I hear her at night when the house is still. She says she cannot keep both of us happy. I tell her to choose you. Always you. But she is afraid of what will happen if he learns the truth." A third. "Promise me, if anything happens to me, you will keep the letters safe. One day she will need to know, not as a child, but as a woman who can bear the weight." The paper trembled in my hands. He was writing to my mother, but he was writing for me, for the child, for the woman I had become, sitting here decades later, unraveling his words. I pushed the letters aside and stumbled to the bathroom, splashing water on my face. The mirror reflected someone I didn't recognize, pale skin, wide eyes, a woman caught between 2 stories of her own life. One where she was the daughter of the man in the photographs. Another where she belonged to a stranger whose only trace was ink on yellowed paper. I whispered to the mirror, "Who am I?" The day dragged. I tried to fold laundry, answer emails, but the box called to me from the bedroom. By evening I gave in again, sinking onto the bed with another bundle, 1994. I was 5 years old then, starting school, learning to tie my shoes. I remember my mother's steady hands, her smile when I mastered a bow. What I didn't remember was that during that same year, she was hiding letters like these. One read, "She looks so much like you now that I ache to hold her in public. But I know I must stay a shadow. If I step into the light, everything burns. Still, when she laughs, I hear myself. Does he? Does he notice?" I dropped the page, clutching my chest. My laugh, my eyes, my face, mirrored in a man I had never met. Another letter was darker. "He grows suspicious. He watches you too closely. I fear for you, Em. I fear what he might do if the truth slips. Protect her. Promise me again you will protect her. Protect her. Always protect her." The words tangled with childhood memories I had long ignored. Times when Mom locked her bedroom door and told me to stay in mine. Nights when raised voices echoed down the hall, low and harsh, not quite shouting, but sharp enough to make me cry under my blanket. She would come later, stroke my hair, tell me everything was fine. I had believed her. Children always believe. The house felt different now. Every creak of the floor, every sigh of the pipes sounded like voices I couldn't quite hear. I carried the box into the living room, setting it on the coffee table where the family photo still stood. Mom in her Sunday dress. Dad in his suit, holding me on his lap. I stared at the photo until it blurred. Whose arms had really held me that day? Whose blood ran in my veins? I wanted to call someone. To scream. But who? Mom was gone. Dad was gone. Sophia lived 3 hours away and had children of her own. What right did I have to drag her into this? Besides, what would I say? Asterisk K. Remember our childhood? Turns out it might be built on a lie. Asterisk. Instead, I opened another envelope. This one chilled me differently. If she ever reads these, I want her to know this. She was loved. Fiercely, endlessly, even in the shadows. I chose distance to protect her, not because I didn't want her. She must know that. Tears blurred the words. I wiped them quickly, terrified of smudging the ink. Loved, even in the shadows. The thought of a man, my maybe father, writing that for me decades before, trusting that one day I would read it, split me in two. One half of me wanted to believe him. The other half clung to the father I thought I had. The man who held my hand on the first day of school and let me ride on his shoulders. Could both be true? Could I be both his and not his? I gathered the letters back into the box, tied the ribbon shakily, and shoved it under the couch. Out of sight, but not out of mind. Never out of mind. That night, as I lay in bed, I swore I heard footsteps in the hall. Soft, measured, like the tread of someone who didn't want to be caught. I held my breath, staring at the door. The house was empty, I told myself. Empty except for me, and the ghosts my mother left behind. But when I finally drifted into restless sleep, one thought followed me like a shadow I couldn't shake. My whole life might have been a story she wrote to keep me safe. And now that story was coming undone. Morning came gray and heavy, the kind of sky that feels like it's pressing down on the house. I woke up on the couch, the box of letters still beneath it, as if it had been keeping watch over me all night. My body ached, but worse was the weight in my chest. I couldn't unknow what I'd read. I couldn't go back to being the daughter of a simple story. I brewed coffee, but it tasted like dust. My eyes kept sliding to the family photo on the mantel. Mom in her Sunday dress, Dad in his suit, me grinning on his lap. That photo had always been proof of belonging. Now it looked like a staged play. Who was he really? Who was I? I pulled the box out again. My hands shook, but I had no choice. Curiosity doesn't sleep. I untied another bundle, 1996. I was 7. That was the year Dad died in the car accident. The year my world split once already. The first letter in that stack made my throat close. Dearest M, if this reaches you, it means what we feared has happened. He's gone. And now I fear the truth will be buried with him. Do not let her grow up believing lies. But also, do not tell her too soon. She must be old enough to bear it. One day, she will ask who she is. When that day comes, these letters will be her answer. I set the page down slowly. My father's death hadn't just been tragedy. It had been opportunity, for silence, for secrets. Another letter from the same year was stained, as if with tears. I should have been there that night. I should have driven instead. If I had, maybe things would be different. Promise me again. Keep her safe from the truth until she is ready. Safe from the truth. My stomach twisted. The truth wasn't protection. The truth was danger. If I wasn't his daughter, if Mom had been hiding me all these years, then who was I really? I pressed my hand against my chest, willing my heartbeat to steady. This is insane, I whispered into the empty room. I need to know more. I searched the house for clues, places Mom might have hidden things. In her dresser drawers I found only scarves and old receipts. In the attic, boxes of Christmas ornaments and school art projects. But behind a stack of photo albums in the hall closet, I found another envelope. It wasn't sealed. Inside was a birth certificate mine. Only, it looked different. The father's name was typed, not handwritten like I'd always remembered. And the date of issue wasn't my birth year, but 2 years later. As if it had been reissued, replaced. My hands trembled so badly I almost dropped it. Why would anyone reissue a birth certificate unless something needed to be changed? Unless someone needed to be erased? I sank onto the floor, clutching the paper, memories crashing over me. I remembered nights when Mom told me not to answer the door if anyone knocked after dark. I remembered how tense she grew whenever strangers came by, how she pulled me behind her like a shield. As a child, I thought it was caution. Now I wondered if it was fear. I wanted to call Sophia, my sister, to ask if she knew any of this. But my thumb hovered over her name in my phone, frozen. What if she didn't know? What if she did? I wasn't sure which answer would hurt more. Another bundle of letters waited on the table. My pulse hammered as I untied it. These were from the late 90s, the years after Dad's death. The handwriting was weaker now, slanted further. Dearest M, I am tired of hiding. I know you think silence keeps her safe, but it also keeps her lost. She deserves to know who she is. I fear one day she will stumble onto the truth by accident, and that will hurt more than if you told her yourself. The words stabbed through me. Asterisk, she will stumble onto the truth by accident. Asterisk, that was me, sitting here decades later, piecing together scraps. It was exactly what he had feared. I dropped the letter, pressing my palms to my eyes. Mom, why didn't you tell me? My voice cracked in the stillness. Why leave me to find this alone? The silence felt unbearable. I almost spoke again just to hear sound. And that's when it hit me. If you're still listening, if this story is hitting you the way it's hitting me, subscribe now. Because the next part, it only gets darker. When I finally looked up, the house seemed different. Every photo on the wall felt like it was watching me. Every shadow seemed to whisper. I clutched the box like a lifeline. I didn't just want the truth anymore. I needed it. One last letter slipped loose from the stack, fluttering to the floor. I picked it up, my stomach tightening as I read the date, 2000. I was 11, old enough to remember. The letter was short, hurried. She asked again about him today. I told her only that he loved her. It is all I can give her until I am ready. Please forgive me. My vision blurred. I remembered that day. I had asked why Dad never came to school plays, why he wasn't at my piano recital. Mom had told me he loved me. That was all I needed to know. I had believed her. Children always believe. Now I knew she had written about it in secret, confessing to a man whose face I didn't know, but whose blood might be my own. I closed the box slowly, my breath ragged. I wasn't sure what was worse, that Mom had lied to me all these years, or that she had done it because she thought she was protecting me. And as I sat there, the box heavy in my lap, one thought lodged deep in my chest. If this truth was meant to stay buried forever, then digging it up might ruin everything. And yet I couldn't stop. So if you're with me, if you need to know what's in the next letters as badly as I do, hit subscribe right now. Because what I found next changed everything. By the next morning, the letters weren't just paper anymore. They were a weight pressing down on my chest. I couldn't focus, couldn't breathe without hearing the echo of their words. Asterisk, for the child's sake. Protect her. She deserves to know who she is. Asterisk. I knew I couldn't carry it alone anymore. There was only one person left who might understand. Sophia, my sister. She arrived just after noon, still in her work clothes, hair pulled back tight, lipstick smudged like she'd rushed over. What's wrong? She asked immediately, eyes scanning my face. Instead of answering, I led her to the living room. The box sat on the table, its lid half open, bundles of letters spilling out like a wound. What is this? She whispered, already pale. Mom's, I said. My voice cracked. I found them in her closet. Letters. From someone who wasn't Dad. She froze, her eyes wide, her lips parting soundlessly. You read them? I had to. Sophia, why didn't she ever tell us? Why didn't she tell me? Sophia sank onto the couch, her shoulders folding in. For a long time she just stared at the box, hands clasped in her lap, so tightly her knuckles whitened. Finally she whispered, because she swore she never would. She told me once, if the truth came out, it would break everything. My breath caught. You knew? Her eyes filled with tears. Not everything. Not like this. But I always suspected. The way she avoided questions, the way she flinched when we asked about Dad's past. I gripped her arm, desperate. Tell me what you know. She shook her head. It's not my story to tell. It was hers. And now she's gone. The silence between us stretched until it felt like the walls themselves were leaning in to listen. Finally I whispered, Sophia, if you were me, would you keep reading? Her eyes flicked to mine, shining. Wouldn't you? The air in the room thickened, heavy with everything unspoken. I reached for another bundle, hands trembling. These letters were dated 2005. I was 16 then, old enough to remember pieces of that year. The late-night arguments, Mom's sudden decision to move us to a new town, the way she cried in the kitchen when she thought we were asleep. One letter read, She is getting older, Em. She asks questions you can't keep deflecting. If you wait too long, she'll resent you. Tell her gently. Please. She deserves to know before she hears it from someone else. I pressed the paper to my chest, shaking. 16-year-old me had been confused, restless, desperate for answers about why our life felt so fragile. And Mom had answered with silence. Sophia touched my shoulder. Stop for tonight. You look like you're going to collapse. But I couldn't stop. Don't you see? If I stop now, I'll never be able to live in this house again. I have to know the whole story. Sophia's hand lingered. Then be ready for what you'll find. Because once you know, you can't unknow it. Her words made my stomach churn. She was right. The truth doesn't give itself back once you've touched it. That night, when she left, the house felt colder than ever. I sat with the box in my lap, letters spread around me like pieces of a puzzle I didn't yet know how to solve. My hands trembled as I untied another ribbon. And if you're still here with me, if you're as desperate as I am to know what these letters are hiding, subscribe right now. Because the final pieces of this story will change everything. The last letter in that bundle stopped my breath. Dearest M, if she is reading this, then it means you could not bring yourself to tell her. I forgive you, but she must know the truth. Her father is not the man she grew up believing. And if she looks hard enough, she will find me. I have never been as far away as you think. My heart slammed. The man, my maybe father, was alive. Not just a ghost of ink, not just a shadow from the past. Alive. Somewhere. The page shook in my hands. Alive. Watching. Waiting. And suddenly I wasn't sure if I wanted to read another word, or if I had no choice. The last words of the letter burned into me. Asterisk, I have never been as far away as you think. Asterisk. I couldn't move. My body felt like it had turned to stone. For years I had lived in this house, slept in this room, walked these streets believing my father was gone forever. And now, through brittle paper and faded ink, I was being told he wasn't gone at all. I shoved the letters back into the box, slammed the lid, and pressed both palms on top as if I could contain the truth inside. But the truth doesn't stay contained. It seeps, it stains, it rewrites everything you thought you knew. The house creaked around me. Every sound felt wrong. Every shadow looked deeper. I caught myself glancing at the window, half expecting to see a face staring in from the dark. If he was alive, had he ever been watching? Had he ever stood outside this very house? I whispered, Mom, what did you do? But of course, Mom was gone. She'd left me with questions and ghosts, and nothing else. The next morning, I decided to test it, to see if what I had read could possibly be real. I dug through the attic, searching boxes of old papers, tax forms, expired passports. And there, in a folder marked miscellaneous, I found it, a photograph. It was dated 3 years after Dad's supposed death. In it, Mom stood at a park, holding my hand. I was about 10, and just behind us, blurred but visible, was a man in the background. Tall, dark hair, shoulders I didn't recognize. He was watching us. Not smiling, just watching. My breath caught. It couldn't be coincidence. The letter had said, Asterisk, I have never been as far away as you think. Asterisk, he had been there, watching from a distance. I couldn't carry it alone anymore. That evening, I called Sophia again. My voice shook as I told her what I had found. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, Emily, I think Mom was protecting you from him. The words landed like ice water. From him? But he said he loved me. He said he stayed away to protect me. Sophia's voice cracked. Do you really believe someone who hides in shadows for decades? Do you really think Mom would have lied unless she was terrified of the truth? Her certainty scared me more than doubt ever could. That night, I sat at the table with the box in front of me. My fingers hovered over the last bundle of letters. My pulse roared in my ears. I didn't want to keep reading, but I had to. The final letter was short, almost a note. If she finds these, tell her I am sorry. Sorry for the lies. Sorry for the fear, but not sorry for existing. She must know I am near. Always. My hands went numb. Asterisk near. Always. Asterisk, the words repeated in my skull until I thought I'd scream. And if you've stayed with me this far, if you're feeling the same dread I felt reading those words, subscribe right now. Because stories like this don't end neatly. They bleed into the next. I didn't sleep. At 3 a.m., the house groaned and settled, but one sound was different. A soft knock at the front door. Just once. Then silence. I froze, blanket clutched to my chest, heart hammering. I told myself it was nothing. The wind. A branch. But when I finally crept to the window and peeked through the curtain, my blood turned to ice. On the porch, in the dim glow of the streetlight, was an envelope. Plain, white, resting on the doormat. My hands shook as I opened the door and picked it up. Inside was a single sheet of paper, handwriting slanted, hurried, unmistakable. It read, Asterisk, I told you, I am never far. And now you know where to find me. Asterisk. My knees buckled. The letter fluttered to the floor. He was alive. He knew I had read the letters. And now, he was inviting me to come to him. I don't know what terrifies me more, the thought of meeting him or the thought of what will happen if I don't. So tell me, if you were me, would you go? Leave your answer in the comments. And make sure to subscribe, because this story isn't over. Not by a long shot.